Hey everybody, my name is Dan. I've been wanting to take this trip to Warm Springs, Georgia for quite a long time to go see what is called the Little White House and also some of the facilities that they used for polio patients over in Warm Springs, Georgia. It's about a 4-hour drive from my house, and this is also my very first video ever, so I imagine that I'm probably going to make some mistakes, but I kind of feel like, if I don't get on with doing it, wait till everything is perfect, I'll never get around to doing it. So at any rate, just wanted to say hi and let's get going on this trip. It's going to be really interesting. FDR has an amazing story. The guy was reelected 3 times for president, suffered from polio, kind of kept it a secret from the general public, and also got us through the Depression and World War II. So I can't imagine a more compelling story. It's also a very complex story, so there's a lot to learn here. But anyway, let's get going. The beautiful Savannah Bridge. Directions tell me that Warm Springs is about a little over a 4-hour drive from my place. As of the making of this video, turns out that polio, strangely enough, has been back in the news again, which I would have never expected that to happen. So I don't know if this adds relevance to it, but anyway, we are on our way to check out some history here. Sometimes when you go on these trips, you discover they need little visitor centers and different things that you think, okay, we'll have to revisit some of this later. An old post office here, and all kinds of antique things. This house here was apparently moved over here, and if I can get over to the other side, I'll get a catch of the sign there that explains what this thing is. So anyway, here we are. It's the Kurt Barwick house. And we also have, as you can see, some different antiques and things. Got a little bit of information about Warm Springs, a little brochure. So I'm going to keep on the road here, but this might be a cool place to revisit in some future live here. All right, we made it. We're in Warm Springs. You can see the big, I was hoping there would be some kind of big sign somewhere, and I really scored on this one. This is great. So anyway, we're going to start taking a look around here. We got a few things nearby, the Warm Springs Antique Mall and Flea Market. You can see that in there, but might drop by there. But we're probably going to do some more significant stuff, like see where the pools are at, where the facilities are at, any museums, and also I believe that there's a house that he stayed at, and might have been the house where he actually passed away, sadly. FDR. So let's go exploring and see what we can find out here. Well, it turns out I didn't have to go much further down the road, and I came across what I've been looking for here. This is the Roosevelt Warm Springs Vocational Rehabilitation Services. And as you can see, they've got a few things start off, which would be things of interest to tourists like me. The Georgia Hall, which includes a welcome information center, which you definitely would want to see. Then below that, number 4, Founders Hall, which has the library archives and the Polio Hall of Fame. And then number 5, the Wilson Building, which has the old indoor therapeutic pool, which is definitely something that I wanted to see. I imagine that's where Roosevelt went. And they did all those activities in the pool and had so many great times. So here's where we are at. And they've got all these things numbered, and I figured out that it's the things that are in blue stars, which are all the 3 things that we're interested in checking out. The Welcome Information Center being number 1, and slightly below that, number 4, the Library Archives and the Polio Hall of Fame, and number 5, the Wilson Building with the therapeutic pools. So let's go check that stuff out. So it turns out at the information center here, I got some information, and one of those things was that it's best to go to that Roosevelt home first, where I believe that there's a museum And part of the reason for that is not only is there a lot of information at the museum, but you can also get tickets to where you can go see the original pools and some other facilities. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that next. All right, here we are at Roosevelt's little White House. Let's come on in. I tell you, after studying this stuff for so long, I can't believe I'm here. They call this Roosevelt's little White House. Kind of like his home away from home. I don't know how much of the structure is part of the original house. So maybe we'll learn something about that. But over here we've got a plaque, and I'm hoping that I can get it to focus so you can see what it says here. Try. Little White House. This is, the admission is over here, and then there's a gift shop, which I definitely love to check that out. See if they have any books or anything. I personally read H.W. Brand's book about FDR, and his fifth cousin Theodore Roosevelt read The Bully Pulpit. H.W. Brand's book is called Traitor to His Class, about FDR, because other rich people that he grew up with and went to school with, sort of resented the fact that he took on the cause of people less fortunate with less money to throw around. Which is a lot of what the New Deal was about. Anyway, there was a group of youngsters, two handfuls of them, and I just beat them in here. Oh my God, here it is. Look at this. This is the car that Roosevelt drove, one of his cars. And what they did was they rigged it up so that, because he couldn't move his legs, he could run everything by hand. So this car has, been specially altered for that purpose. Anyway, this car was built by Willys, who apparently were the people that were making the Jeeps in World War II. WWII. So this is 1940 Willys Roadster. And apparently also they took out the parts of the car that were operated by hand because it would kind of get in the way. I guess Roosevelt didn't actually drive this vehicle. Turns out other people drove it for him. So they put the spare parts for the hand operated stuff in the trunk of the car, where they reside at this time. Then working our way over here, see some pretty interesting things here. We've got one of his wheelchairs, and you have one of his hats, one among many. And this item here that's got kind of, looks like it's made out of some kind of ceramic or bone type material or something. That's a cigarette holder. And he used to smoke those really kind of long type cigarettes. These are actual braces that he wore. And apparently the shoes have gotten really narrow over time because there haven't been any feet inside of them for a long time, but normally they would be stretched out more. He was 6'2". And also one other thing that my host pointed out, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there is a signature on the middle piece between the first and second strap there. You can see a signature going up and down in there and engraved into the metal there. There's of course a picture of him. We saw that cigarette holder a little bit earlier. It's a picture of him. the actual cigarette in it. So we're gonna move on. Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter visiting. Sitting there with Churchill. No Stalin in this picture. Unless he was off to the side somewhere. A few paintings. They do have the painting that somebody, I can't remember who it was doing a painting of him at the little White House. There's a film to watch, but there's like two groups, large groups of high schoolers, so I thought, you know what, I'll go through here first before I watch the film, so hopefully it'll be a little bit quieter. This is so exciting for me because I have that, look at this, we've got some of the actual china and utensils that he used to carve up a turkey apparently over here. Wow. I'm one of those people that watched all those Ken Burns shows and American Experience shows about him and started reading books about him, so it's pretty wild for me to be physically close contact with this. Yeah, I got table settings here. What's from here. Now towards the end of this, there's the unfinished portrait, which we'll get to see. Very famous portrait that someone was painting. I can't remember the name of the person. I'm going to find out by the time we get to the end of it. Oh my God, look at this. Little boat. You know, he loved going fishing, or not fishing, but going boating. Oh my God, look at this thing. The Tally-Ho. An old coach had been seen so many seasons of harsh weather throughout the decades, so that by 1947 a renovation and restoration project was implemented. Atlanta artist and historian Wilbur Kurtz supervised the project in high regards to authenticity. This was known in New Hampshire as the Concord model. It was widely copied, built in the 1800s. The repainting and ornamentation was complete, and the pastel mural on each door was recreated in exact detail to the original. So apparently this is not the original. But man, this is pretty cool. I have to admit. Oh, this is a shaving kit that he used. Pretty cool. Oh, look at that little brush. Oh my God. Magnifying glass, phone, one of his pens, all his personal items of his. FDR. Over here, this is really cool because, you know, he used to collect stamps when he got polio. The thought was that he just wasn't going to be able to do anything. So he was just trying to fill his time. He'd given up any ideas about politics or anything, and he just started collecting these stamps. Oh my goodness, and these are the stamps. It says, "I owe my life to my hobbies, especially stamp collecting." Wow. If you want a little bit more insight into FDR's life. Definitely recommend seeing the Roosevelt's, the Ken Burns series. Explains a lot. And also American Experience did, like, I think a 2-part, pretty in-depth thing just on FDR himself. The Roosevelt's is really fantastic as well, but that also covers Theodore Roosevelt. Oh, this is so neat. Another one of his hats, a couple of busts, and neat. Of course, you know, he used a variety of canes to get around. And another thing he did was his son, if you'll see pictures of him standing next to his son, he's actually, you'll notice his arms around him and he's leaning heavily on his son. So the weight that he was exerting on his son to be able to stand up was pretty intense, and they both would just be there smiling for the public and pretending like everything was cool, because they did not want to let on the fact that he actually was paralyzed from about his waist down. Wow, look at that kind of Indian head. Man, he had some pretty cool canes. He had a lot of them. Wow. Some really neat carvings on these too. You really got to come and see these in person. I don't know who this is supposed to be. If this is John Adams or Jefferson, not sure. It says on there somewhere. There's a bust of him. And I would say probably it's safe to say that Eleanor Roosevelt is probably the most significant first lady in the history of our country, hands down. She used to actually, they kind of helped each other. I mean, she would kind of push him a little bit further to, for lack of a better word, the left, than he would be able to get away with it. So I guess the way that they worked it is she would tell him, oh, you know, we should really do this or that or the other thing. Something that would be more extreme than what the public was probably ready for. And he would use the excuse of, oh, well, that's my wife that said that. That's not me. So he kind of had a way of, you know. Oh, now this was Missy Lehand. She worked for him for 21 years, I'll just read this, serving him in many capacities from hostess to secretary. And they had this, I think she spent some time in this little White House with him. And eventually she passed away of a stroke. Louis Howe was a kind of, I don't know if a campaign manager, but he kind of handled his Roosevelt's campaigns and public image and everything. And I remember Eleanor originally thought that he was a pretty disgusting guy. He was like a chain smoker and everything. Louis Howe was able to win over Eleanor is basically what I'm trying to get around to. Encouraging her to speak out in public and become a better speaker. That's one of the things that he did for her. So basically boosted her self-esteem is what I'm trying to get at there. Missy Leland's last will and testament. Wow. That's something. It would be hard for people to understand these days, but people highly revered Roosevelt. People had his portrait up in their houses. He was an extremely inspirational figure. Sarah Delano Roosevelt is his mother, by the way. Come on, a little book that she wrote. Wow, I've never seen that before. From 1933, My Boy Franklin. Wow. She was a very supportive mother. Almost maybe a little too involved in his life at times, I think. Which might have been a little bit off-putting for Eleanor. Look at that, Teddy's big stick. You know, Teddy quoted that West African proverb, speak softly and carry a big stick. So that must have been a reference to that. And of course, Pearl Harbor. You know, World War II, after the Depression, well, the Depression wasn't really over yet, but after the Depression happened and World War II started, that was one reason why Roosevelt felt like he had to keep running for president again. And of course, he got reelected more than any other president. So in the museum next to the 1938 Ford he drove, you can see the hand controls here that he used to drive the vehicle. The whole thing over on the left there. It's pretty cool how the brake and the gas and everything, you can see how all those attachments go. So he can shift all that by hand. So apparently that hand control right there on the steering wheel controlled the gas as you pushed it down. And then these controlled the clutch and the brake. Wow, look at this, some vinyl. I'm a big music guy. I'm a musician. Onward Christian Soldiers and Going Home. It's old 78s. Amazing. Wow, looks like a record holder. Huh. So cool. Who played this violin? Let's see. Someone entertained him at Warm Springs. Jacob Bunn Wright, as pictured here. Play a special brand of music. A favorite tune of FDR's was Home on the Range. Bunn and his band, made up of family members and friends from the area, often entertained the patients at the Foundation and Wheelchair Square dances. Wow, that's the actual violin. Oh my goodness. Wow, look at these. It's like some kind of horns. You know, there used to be another NRA, and they're talking about it here is the National Recovery Administration. Not the same NRA that we have today. And I think they used to, it says here, create improved working conditions, federally mandated minimum wages, a 40-hour work week, the right to join unions, and abolishing child labor. Yes, indeed. Pretty awesome. All for workers' rights. That's one thing I love about FDR. There's one quote, I can't remember who said it. It was just some, I think, anonymous person who mentioned that FDR, he said, is the only politician who understands that my boss is a son of a bitch. Yes, indeed. Well, not always true, and not always fair to all bosses out there. It's just... But there were some real abusive conditions for workers back then. Much more so than today, although I'm sure there's probably still plenty of instances of that today. So here is another brace of his. Wow, this is just blowing my mind to be here. And as you know, we've got one of those at our house. Who's Your Cabinet? Popular thing in kitchens back at the time. Did you know FDR gave his famous fireside chats, and people really were extremely engaged in them. This is before television, of course. People would gather around the radio and listen to his voice. And I think he was kind of a comforting voice to them. got to realize that the Depression was crazy. Like 1/4 of the working public were unemployed. It was a devastating time. And so having a president who was going to try to do something about it and wasn't afraid to take serious action, he became a great inspiration to people because they really needed somebody to do something serious. The markets don't always work themselves out, and people learn that the hard way in the Depression. Now, when you walk out of the museum building that I was in just a moment ago, these are flags of each state, and they also come with a stone that's shaped like the state. This is apparently Pennsylvania here. Somewhere on there, there's the flag of the state, of course, and then somewhere in there, there's the year that it became a state. So I'm guessing this Marine Corps sentry post is guarding, to protect the president while he was down here. And here, United States Secret Service sentry post, we're just across the way from the other one that we were looking at. I don't know if you can see the little desk in here. Pretty neat. And like I say, right across from the other one we just looked at. And here we have the servants' quarters. A little bit of information about Lizzie McDuffie and Daisy McAfee Bonner and Irvin McDuffie, the valet. Inside of the servants' quarters, a little bathroom here. Some low ceilings in this place. One of the bedrooms. Another one of the bedrooms over here. Got FDR's picture on the side there. Guest house over here. And just want to mention, this is the original entrance to the house. The entrance that we came in was added later. This is inside the guest house. A couple of bedrooms here. Very interesting. Okay, now walking towards the house from the front. So you enter the little White House from the side over here. Wow, look at this view. Oh my God. That's pretty cool. Really neat. Wow, look at this place. And here we are inside of the little White House. Looks like bug spray over there, on top of there. Little sink. Very nice. Lots of kitchen stuff here for baking and cooking and heating things up. Okay, so now we are in the little White House for the first time. This, he loved boats, a lot of boats. Some of these he helped build, and like the one over the fireplace, I think he commissioned it and also assisted in building it. And then this is the chair he was sitting in when he passed away of a cerebral hemorrhage, I believe is what it was. And there's a woman who was doing a painting of him, Elizabeth. What's her name, artist name again? Elizabeth Shumatoff. So she was painting that his portrait when he passed away in this chair here. And then over on the other side we have the dining room area, another beautiful boat. This is all made from local pine. And we're going to move on to the next room here. It just started raining outside. Anyway, this is quite the view over here. Let's go check out the president's bedroom next. Oh, visit the secretary's room first. Okay, I'll follow the directions. We will visit the secretary's bedroom first. Everything's kind of behind glass here, so I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see some of this. It's funny how small the beds were back then. I'm going to have to ask what that machine is right there. I'm not sure what that is. I learned that this is a telegraph machine, or I'm sorry, a telephone switchboard in the secretary's bedroom. I just wanted to make sure that I got that in here. Oh, a teeny little lamp. Back then, you know, doors and everything. Just a little teeny chair. Things were so small back then. Okay, now we are in the president's room. Wow. This guy was 6'2", by the way. And I don't know if I can convey this. Bed does not look too big. I'm about 5'10" and a half, and I would have a hard time being in a bed that small. It's his desk here. Little top hat. Also want to point out, this is the bed that he actually passed away in. He didn't die in the chair that we were talking about before. He had this cerebral hemorrhage there, and then they took him into this bedroom, and his bedroom at the White House, the little White House. This is where he passed away. Little sink. This is interesting how the bathroom is set up. Turns out this is the original toilet paper. I guess they didn't bleach paper back then, and probably the fact that it's aged so much. But it was made out of tougher material, that's why it didn't just completely disintegrate. Fascinating. A little mirror here. This thing's probably locked on. And this was Eleanor's bedroom, which I don't know if she spent a lot of time here, but apparently there's 2 beds in here. Again, very small chairs and lamps. It's amazing how small things were. It's really something being in contact with close personal contact with these things. Now from the outside, I wanted to show you the view from the terrace here. At last, we are in the Legacy exhibit, where the unfinished painting of FDR resides. This is it right here. Madame Elizabeth Shalmatoff was the painter. Watercolor on board. And this is a finished version of it. Here it also mentions that Lucy Mercer was there that day, which I thought was true. That was one of his, lovers. So they had kind of met up again years later after their relationship had ended. And I think her husband, Lucy's husband, had died, and she came out to visit him here. Was actually here during the time that he passed. And here's the gift shop. Got some t-shirts and different things. I actually picked up a couple of t-shirts. All kinds of stuff. Food, peanuts, griddle, soaps. Those are always nice. I'm going to have to come back here. Another thing that's really nice about this is there's books, all kinds of books. Some Doris Kearns Goodwin. I wasn't going to say anything about the hotel because I figured this is kind of more of a historical video. But this place, holy smokes. This is a Best Western, believe it or not. And I used, it's like some kind of point system or something or other, so they sold me on that so I could get the room a little bit cheaper. Don't know what normally rooms cost, but at any rate, you got this beautiful pool. I spent a lot of time in that. I just wanted you to see this view. It's just incredible. Some gazebo over here. Also, oh yeah, you'll see the fire pit over there with the Adirondack chairs. an option for, I guess, as of today, they say it costs $30 for them to light that up. I figure maybe I'll do that some other time. But at any rate, getting a little something to eat. Just sit here and check out this magnificent view. You see, white. Which, you know, it kind of makes sense there be a place like this, given that, you know, the reason that FDR was coming out here was to kind of recharge and get energized and everything. And so yeah, you just have this really lovely place here. Best Western Hotel at the top of the hill. Not too crazy expensive. I think I'm paying 150 something. It's not too terrible. Great place. What the heck, one more view. This is a really nice view of the gazebo. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this very first video of mine. Please hit the like button and subscribe. It is obviously much appreciated. And I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, that's it.